Hello, it is I, Andrine, Jewish American Priestess. I'm here this day to bring in another Hebrew reading into the dark time of the year as we head toward the new moon of Tevet. Not quite here yet, but coming right up. So we've just passed through the solstice, where I am. It's the winter. We're supposed to have some snow tonight, in fact, here in the Pacific Northwest. I guess all over the country there's some big storms happening. So I'm going to do a reading tonight, and I have these beautiful stones that somebody gave me for Hanukkah this year. They're quite gorgeous. They're to, I guess, represent the chakras in the body. They can also represent the lower seven Sephirot, if we look at it that way, and I like that very much. So maybe we'll use some of those today, as well as a couple of cards. We're going to do 2 cards from the Mythologia Fennica deck today, and then we'll do some Hebrunes. All right, let's just start with 2 cards. Ooh. Some of my cards go in one way and some go in the other way. Let me flip those over. Sort of a bit of a mess. Which 2? Oh, I guess these 2 are the ones that want to come out. They really want to come out. And we will allow that. So, our 2 cards today are the Bog Spirit and Aino. And so we're going to tell their stories today. But we'll bring down some crystals to go with each of them too. And I'm seeing for Aino, I think this stone, which is the green agate bloodstone. You can see it's got both the green and the reds in it, and I love that because it really kind of mirrors the blues, greens, and reds of this stone. So we're going to go with Aino with the green agate bloodstone, and then for Bog Spirit, I think we're just going to have to go with the quartz crystal with that ethereal look. So those are your 2 cards to choose from: Bog Spirit and Aino. And we will tell their stories when we get to the reading. But go ahead and take a moment to decide which one is appealing to you today. And we'll see you in your reading. I'll put the timestamps down below. All right, for those of you who chose Bog Spirit today and the quartz crystal, this is what your card looks like, and it is loosely affiliated with the 6 of Cups. It's very loosely. It's really not at all like the 6 of Cups in regular tarot. The Bog Spirits are, there's spirits in all the different areas of water and land in the Finnish mythology, and the Bog Spirit and ponds had their own spirits. They might have originally been the spirits of those who were buried in the bog, or they might have been nature's spirits. It's unclear. But they are associated with the underworld, even though they are benevolent beings. They are kind. According to folklore, on the path to Manala, there's a great bog where the sinners end up, and they sink under the weight of their bad deeds, sometimes up to their knees, and sometimes up to their chests, and sometimes up to their necks, depending on the weight of their evil deeds. So it's a limbo area at the edge of 2 worlds. So that's what Bog Spirit represents, is this kind of middle place where things are not quite settled one way or the other, limbo. And but the Bog Spirits also keep guard at the edge of bogs to protect people from getting bogged down. So it can be about being mired in your feelings or having some sort of exhaustion, maybe this border, liminal space between two worlds, uncertainty, downward sinking energies. And it's possible that the Bog Spirit is a warning to those who are heading into the mire to turn back and not get bogged down. So yeah, there's no point in sinking into the bog if you don't have to. So yeah, don't let yourself be fooled or play the victim or martyr, making interactions difficult. Yeah, so I'm going to set Bog Spirit up here, and we'll use this stone to hold them up, this ethereal, spiritual ghost of a stone right here next to Bog Spirit. Okay, so, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pull out 3 Hebrunes today. Let's see what comes up for you. I'm just going to toss them down and see where they land. So we have Tsari, Dalit, and Ain. Interesting. All right. Tsari is a letter that is about justice, and it's here in this position that's a little bit past. There's some issue with justice that is up for those of you who chose this reading, and maybe it's an injustice, or maybe it's just trying to seek justice of some sort, or righteousness, this attempt to find righteousness in your situation, in your life. Again, with the Bog Spirit, it seems like it has to do with this limbo, like maybe there's something that isn't quite decided. And this desire for justice, this desire for righteousness that is at the core of the situation that is at hand, that's come right before now. It has to do with, so the letter Tsadi begins the word tzedek, or tzadik, which means justice or righteous person. But it also has to do with hunting. It's Sayyid. I think that's how it's pronounced. Sayyid is hunting. So it's about looking for something, searching for justice perhaps. But as you've searched, perhaps you've wandered into the bog. Perhaps you've been searching for something maybe in the wrong place or with the wrong person. It is the 18th letter, so it has something to do with life. Life being the word chai, and chai adds up to the number 18, and Tsadi is the 18th letter. So it has something to do with life. And it is, but it's a numerical value is 90. And 90 is 10 times 9. 9, the letter that represents 9 is tet, which is a container. And 10 is yud, which is that first letter of the name of the divine. So if you have 10, tet meaning is the first letter of the word tov, and yud is that first letter of the divine name. So 10 times 9 is this ultimate manifestation of goodness. It also has to do with this ultimate manifestation of gestation. The matriarch Sarah was 90 years old when she gave birth to Yitzhak, who had a tzadi in his name as well. So there's all this complicated stuff around justice, about gestation, about goodness, about being righteous, being full of goodness that has come before now for you. And it has to do with the foundation of thought. So maybe a lot of thought has gone into the choices that you've been trying to make. But again, it seems to have led into this bog place, which is a little bit disturbing. This hunt that you've had for justice, this hunt that you've had for goodness, and this ultimate goodness that you've really, really been searching for, has maybe led you to the edge of this bog place. And what we have that's going to be useful right now is the letter Dalet. And you can see this letter Dalet it's a gateway or a doorway. It is, yeah, it's the number 4. And so it has to do with the 4 elements and the 4 seasons, and the 4 directions, being able to reach in each direction to try to find your way through. The Dalet is about liminal space. It's about a doorway, right? Like literally standing in the doorway. So as your search, your hunt for justice and righteousness has brought you here where you are, maybe at this liminal space, as in the Bog Spirit talks about being in limbo. Like you don't know which way to go. There is some kind of limbo going on. There's some kind of doorway that you're standing in, ready to make a transformation. For me, as I sat with each of the Hebrew letters and how they correspond to the traditional tarot cards, I see Dalet as corresponding to the death card. It is about transformation. It's about going through the doorway, coming to the other side. And that doesn't mean a literal death, but it does mean letting go of what is too heavy to carry with you, right? So if you are weighted down by things and you walk into that bog, you're going to sink. And the Dalet is that space where you get to decide what are you going to leave outside and what are you going to bring in with you to this next phase of your life as you walk forward. Do you want to be heavy and weighted down into the bog and sink down to your knees or down to your chest or down to your neck even? Or do you want to lighten up a little bit? And that brings us to Ayin. And Ayin is, it's the letter that that represents an eye. So it's about seeing clearly. It's about being able to see where you're going, what you need, and also being watched over by the divine. And Ayin is the foundation of laughter. So it's about lightening up. It's about finding laughter and joy in your situation, not getting so bogged down in the seriousness of everything, not getting so wrapped up in looking for justice and righteousness in the world that you miss out on the joy of life. So it seems to be that the direction to go next is to, in order to see your way forward, is to find lightness, to release some of this heaviness that you've been carrying around with you. I mean, righteousness and justice is all really well and good, and it's important to seek it. But if it's bogging you down, and if you're about to walk through a doorway with too much baggage, it might be better just to lay it down. Just to lay it down, whatever it is you need to let go. And find some lightness and joy in your life as you move forward through that doorway into the next iteration. Let me think for one more minute, just sit with this. Yeah, the letter Ayin is the number 70 in Gematria. And so 7 is a completion number because there are 7 days in creation. So you've got the 7th day of creation is the finality of the creation situation. And you've got 70, which is 10 times that. Again, that first letter of the divine name, the Yud, attached to the finality of creation, brings us this ultimate manifestation of creation, of coming to an end of a thing. Like, so there's some major finality here in the Ayin. So it's about, it's affiliated with letting go, being done with it, whatever it is you're being done with. The Ayin also corresponds to the tribe of Dan, which is D-A-N, Dan, which is, whose name means judgment. So for me, it corresponds to the judgment card in the tarot. So there's some kind of judgment that's going to come through with what's coming up for you in the near future. And ideally, that judgment is a good judgment. It's a judgment that will bring us through that doorway lighter into the next iteration of with laughter, with a finality, with a lightness that won't let us be bogged down into this situation. So for those of you who chose the Bog Spirit today, that is your reading for this week between Solstice and the New Year and the new month. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, for those of you who chose Aino, she loosely corresponds to the Page of Cups. And the Page of Cups, I mean, it's again a really loose correspondence. She is a water spirit. She was a person. And interestingly, Aino, which is a really sad story in some ways, but there's also a positive spin to it. So when the hero Vainamoinen was challenged by young Youkahainen to a duel, basically a spell duel or a song duel. It ended up Vainamoinen was able to sing Youkahainen into the bog. So we just had Bog Spirit in the other reading, but he sang this young man into the bog, and was going to let him die. And Youkahainen told Vainamoinen that if he would let him live, that he could have his sister Aino as a wife. And Vainamoinen was interested, so he let Youkahainen go. But he hadn't talked to Aino about it, and Aino was not particularly thrilled about this idea. She was so alarmed that she had to marry the old man that she ran to her mother crying, and her mother didn't care. She was like, "Yeah, go ahead and marry the old sage. He's quite a catch." But Aino was so sad and so mourned her fate that she went to the sea and threw herself in. It says that she saw a speckled rock in the depths. She swam out to it, and it turned out that it took her under. So she ended up drowning. But the legend has it she turned into a mermaid, and later on Vainamoinen also caught her when he was fishing, but he didn't know what she was, threw her back, and then when she swam out, she said, "Ha ha, I got away again." So she had, it's sad that she threw herself into the water, and yet she did what she wanted to do, right? She didn't settle. She decided to find her freedom, and that was rewarded by, turning her into a mermaid. So it's about being true to your feelings. It's about really listening to your heart and not trying to force things that are not working for you. So, and I love that this stone has got the reds and the greens in it as well. So it's like the water, but also that red, that blood, that heart in it as well. So here we have Aino and the green agate bloodstone for this reading. And we're going to pull out 3 Hebrunes today to illuminate this reading further. And I'm just going to cast them down and see what order they come in. I'm going to scoop them up, grab 3, and throw them down. 1, 2, 3. Woo! I went right down onto the floor. Okay, so we have the letter Het, we have the letter Mem, and we have the letter Vav. This is great. Okay. So the letter Het on the left there is the letter that begins the word Chai. So it's about life, and it's about a chuppah. So it's like a marriage canopy. So it has to do with contracts and covenants. Contracts with other people, with yourself, with the divine. And covenant as well, in that it's the number 8. So on the 8th day of a child's life, they are named and or circumcised, which is a covenant to the divine. So it has to do with contracts and covenants, and it can have to do with marriage, which is great for Aino because, of course, she was promised in marriage but chose not to follow that. So again, it has to do with the word chai, which means life, but also the word choshek, which means darkness. So it has that binary of both darkness and life. And again, darkness and life are not opposites of each other. They are both really important in life. So chet, representing both of those things, is quite beautiful for this card in particular, because Aino chose to end her life in order to avoid the marriage canopy, the marriage contract, and she went into the dark waters, but in that she found her freedom, and I love that. I love that for her. This, it is the number 8, so it has to do with the infinite. The infinity symbol is 8 on its side. And also in the darkest time of year, which is right now, where we are in the season of Hanukkah, there are 8 days of light that we bring into the darkness, this darkest season. The letter chet has to do with speech. So it is about speaking, and again, speaking the truth, speaking in order to create contracts, in order to create agreements, about naming. Again, on the 8th day of a child's life, they're given a name. So it's about naming what's true. It's about giving things their valid names and making those contracts happen with oneself, with the divine. And it has to do with the throat or the gullet in the body. So something in the near past, for those of you who chose this card, has had to do with speech. It's had to do with contracts or covenants, possibly even relationships, chuppah, some kind of connection with a couple of people, life and darkness. Again, all of those things which are not in contrast to each other, but continue to exist in harmony with each other. For me, the chet corresponds to the tarot card, the Devil. And again, the Devil's not a bad card. It's just a card of the idea of attachments, maybe restrictions, commitments, and limitations. But also can be about having a little fun, about having a little life. So that's our near past situation here, as we've had the chet. And then I love that we've got the next letter in our reading is the mem, and the mem is about water, mayim hayim. It's about the waters of life. It is the letter that corresponds to the number 40, so it has to do with gestation as well. And you can see that it looks a little bit like a womb, and that it has a container with a little hole at the bottom there. So it can be about transformation, about gestation of some new idea or even a person. It's the wet season in the year, which is right now where I live, the winter, and it's about transformation and cleansing. It's about a mikvah begins with mem, and that's about cleansing or taking a ritual bath. So something needs to be cleansed, something needs to be washed out. Maybe something needs to be gestated right now. It has to do with emotions and floods and the deep, the underworld, maybe even grief. I mean, I know certainly had her grief and flung herself into the deep in order to transform. And out of that, she was rewarded with freedom to become who she needed to be, which is this mermaid character who is free in the world. And our outcome letter here, as I see it, is the Vav. And the Vav is connection. It is the letter that literally means and in Hebrew. And so it has, you know, it has this correspondence with just connection, things connecting together. It's a peg or a hook in the Proto or Paleo Hebrew, so it's the thing that connects two things together. But it has to do, for me, with the Lovers card. So connection between oneself and the divine. It's this taproot that plants itself in the ground and yet reaches up toward the heavens. It is the letter. If the first place it appears in the Torah is in the phrase heaven and earth, so it connects very initially, right off the bat, the divine with humans. And so it's about this connection, this unity with divinity, about standing tall, but there's a little bit of a humility here. There's a bowed head. So when one stands in the presence of the divine, there might be good to have a little humility. Joining heaven and earth. It's the number 6, so it has to do with the 6th day of creation, which is when the divine finished creating things physically, but before they rested. So there is this almost completion idea to the Vav. It's not quite done, because rest is an important part of creation as well. It corresponds to the number 6, so it has to do with the 6 directions, which is, again, east, south, north, west, up, and down. So in many native cultures, as well as in Hebrew, we think about all 6 directions when we are grounding ourselves in space. And that's what's coming up here, is this idea of connection. Something is coming out of this darkness, this desire for life that has maybe descended into the deep, to a time of transformation, a time of gestation. But the outcome is connection. So there will be connection as you come through this time. I mean, we don't know what happened to Aino after she swam away, but I'm hoping she found some other mermaids to hang with, maybe found a lovely girlfriend. So that's my hope for Aino and for you, that you will find connection with the divine, if not with another human or another mermaid, that you will be able to find that intimate connection with the divinity as you move forward from this time of darkness, as we just passed through the solstice, until we reach the new year and the new month of Tevet. And I wish you blessings in this season. I hope you have a gentle holiday, and we'll see you next time.